This is a FirePro V3900 I brought off eBay for £2.20. Can it play any games or is it money wasted? Stick around because today we're going to find out. My name's Andy and welcome to the channel Andy's Tech. Now a year or two ago people would have thrown a card like this away, and certainly you could pick up older gen cards for complete peanuts and next to nothing. But times have changed, unfortunately. Now I am aware this is not a gaming GPU and it's probably just as lame as a GT 710, or maybe if not worse, but that doesn't stop us having some fun with it in the meantime. Now before we put this little card through its paces, I'd love to know in the comments section below if you've tried to game on this GPU or a similar card, or even if you snagged any bargain GPUs in this current market. But without further ado, let's get into the video. The FirePro V3900 is a professional graphics card by AMD, launched on the 7th of February 2012 and built on the 40nm process, based on the Turk's graphics processor. The card supports DirectX 11.2, it has 480 shading units, 24 texture mapping units and 8 ROPs. It has 1GB of GDDR3 memory and 128-bit memory bus. The GPU stock is operating at a frequency of 650 MHz and the memory is running at 900 MHz, for now that is. Being a single slot card, the AMD FirePro does not require any additional power connector and its maximum power draw is rated at 50 watts. Display ports include one DVI and one DisplayPort, and the FirePro is connected to the system using PCI Express 2.0 x16. So it's by no means a Ferrari, more of a Lada I guess. And to give it a fighting chance, first up we're going to run it through a synthetic benchmark Heaven, just to gain a baseline, and then see what overclock, if any, we can get out of the little card, just to help it along and maybe gain a few FPS. It's worth noting quickly that this card is now unsupported by AMD, and the last driver update was 2017 in January. Also, I could not get my capture card to work, so we will try to record all this internally using MIDI Afterburner and OBS software. And the system I'm using is an i5 9600K with 16GB of DDR4 running at 3000 MHz. Total overkill for this card, but at least nothing will be holding it back. In Heaven, the card at stock settings came back with a score of 928, with an average of 36.8 FPS, and that was running in full screen mode. Yeah, gripping stuff. But if we jump into MIDI Afterburner quickly, I managed to get a stable overclock of 725 MHz on the core and 1050 MHz on the memory. But how does this affect our score in Heaven, I hear you ask? Well, running Heaven again, we now see that we have a score of 1189 with an average frame rate of 47.2. Now that's not too shabby by any standards. That's a 10 FPS game on our very first score, and it would definitely help shortly when we come to some games. So moving on, and first up we have CSGO. We were running at 720p native resolution, with all the in-game graphical settings turned to low or disabled. We were returning a 60 plus FPS average, and there were some dips below 60 from time to time, but certainly it was a very playable experience for the casual player. And 1080p returned mid-40s, and wouldn't be something I recommended for this little card. Also, you would see the same FPS from a second or third gen i5 system, something along those lines. You certainly wouldn't need the CPU we're using today. And jumping into Minecraft now, and at 720p again with fancy graphics and clouds enabled and the render chunk distance set to 12. We were seeing pretty close to 60 FPS all of the time. Now it is worth noting that this is the Microsoft Store version of the game and is capped at 60 FPS anyway. Now I did put a video together on a cheap Dell Minecraft system with this little card in it, so I know it can play the game fine. And I will put a link above for the video now if anyone is interested in that. So Minecraft on the V3900, no problem. But moving on to another very popular online esports title, Rocket League. Now I ran this at 1080p today because I find that 720p resolution just makes the graphics look pretty terrible in this game. well, more terrible than it already does when set to the performance graphic option. But we hit just over 30 FPS, and as a budget gamer, I'm going to count this one as a pass, and you could certainly just have some fun. It's not unplayable, but far from an amazing experience. But hey, £2.20 folks. So last up we have Fortnight. Not a game I play much or I'm any good at. My 7-year-old kicks my butt most of the time. But 720p using the performance API, with near view distance we were getting a 69 FPS average over a couple of games. Now the performance API does make the graphics look pretty bad, but when using old hardware like this, it's a godsend. And to get online with your mates for the price of a coffee, who's complaining? So that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this little card that I brought. I've certainly had some fun making this video, and for the price we paid, I don't think the little V3900 did too badly. Now, would I recommend this? No, not really, but if you were completely stuck and had no option, hey, it's better than nothing, right? Also, I edited this video with the card in the system, and it's still fine for tasks like that. So if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and help it grow. Please leave a like or a dislike and drop me a comment also. Thank you for watching, take care, and hopefully see you in the next one.